Then of Rocky Lockridge, and gets polite applause here at Blazers Club in Windsor. And the familiar now facing the fight game of Lou Duba, 4 champions in his stable at the moment, and the man who made quite a rumpus when Lloyd Honeyghan defeated Johnny Bumpus at Wembley. And the entry of the reigning champion from Australia, born in Britain, carrying the IBF belt. Now that they like that, the International Boxing Federation, to have their belt seen. It's not just Michael bragging about it a bit. They often think it unnerves a challenger a bit, but I very much doubt that it will bother Rocky Lockridge. Lockridge has had 7 title fights anyway. There's Barry Michael then, got a lot of support, got his family, wife, dad, the lot here. And there's Michael then just displaying his belt. He'll fight till he drops if he has to keep that.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Blazers in Royal Windsor for the IBF Junior Lightweight Championship of the World. The judges for this contest, ladies and gentlemen, from Italy, Walter Cavalieri; from the United States, Bob Cox; and from London, England, Roland Dakin. The IBF supervisor, ladies and gentlemen, from America, Mr. Harold Stone, and the man in charge of the ring, referee Joe Santarpia from the United States. The timekeeper, Mr. Tom Powell, BM of England. And now, ladies and gentlemen, Frank Warren presents a junior lightweight contest of 15 3-minute rounds for the Junior Lightweight Championship of the World. Presenting in this corner, ladies and gentlemen, from the United States, the challenger, weighing in at 128¼ pounds, with a record of 40 wins, 5 losses and 33 knockouts, the former junior lightweight champion, Rocky Lockridge. And from Australia, ladies and gentlemen, now living in London, weighing in at 130 pounds, with a record of 48 wins, 8 losses, 2 draws, and 16 knockouts, making his 4th title defence, the IBF Junior Lightweight Champion of the World, Barry Michael. 15 3-minute rounds, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, they are sweating profusely there, aren't they? And you can understand that with the troubles they've had just getting into the ring. So now we'll find out now these 2 little meme machines. I mean, all the form points to the fact that there'll be like a couple of stags, and they're all, yes, they're doing it at the start, head to head. They very similar styles, and I think they're shaking a lot of the tension already out of their bodies, because it must have been quite a shock for them to have to leave the building and then come back again. So the 4th title defence then by Barry Michael, who was born in London, went to Watford and then to Australia when he was a lad. And Rocky Lockridge, of course, the former WBA champion, and he won that in the 1st round back in '84. And it's set for 15 rounds now, the International Boxing Federation version. That's at the super featherweight, that's between feather and light. And Michael came in exactly the British weight at 9 stone 4 against 9 2 1/4 Lockridge. I think this is setting the pattern already, Terry, isn't it? It's going to be close quarter stuff for a while.
Yeah, Barry's got a very big eye, and I think he wants to make it a war of attrition. Lockridge is going to be very dangerous in the early rounds, and Barry, I think, maybe trying to take the edge off of Lockridge's punches. But I've noticed Lockridge is a very dangerous right-hand puncher with his overhand right, and Barry's inclined to throw left hook to the body, which could expose him to the right hand over the top. So I think he's got to be careful there.
Well, he quite openly said at a press conference with Lockridge present, Barry Michael, well, I don't mind, I'll probably lose the opening round. He said, maybe even the first 6. He said, but then it becomes my ballpark, to use his expression. It certainly is an incredible style. A bit of blood already from Michael's nose. A pair of them had some hard battles with a minute to go then in the opening round. In fact, Michael's had 484 professional rounds. Oh, as you say, there's the punch, Terry, you mentioned earlier. The right hand half hook almost going over the top. So the Michael family out in force then, because the relations didn't have far to travel to Blazers Club in Windsor, I can assure you, from the Hertfordshire and Watford areas. Referee then Joe Santarpia from New York. And strangely enough, actually boxed, I remember, for the New York boys against the London boys here. What a round, but it's really been a hard slog at the start, Terry. Can they keep this up for 15?
I think, well, that's Barry's strategy, but he's took far too many...
Well, a little bit of bloodied nose there, isn't it, by Barry Michael? That's his dad, Len Swettenham. Obviously, the family's real name working on it. And the usual whistles of delight, I hope, for the rounds lady. Here's Lockridge with Lou Duva. And George Benton on the outside of the ropes, one of the best teachers, I think, in America. And Ace Moretti, the cut man, in case he's called upon. A bit early for the ice pack on the Lockridge's neck, I would have thought. Round 2, and the referee standing right in the centre of the ring to make sure nobody bolts from the corner. The Americans are a bit touchy about that since Lloyd Hunnigan did it against Johnny Bumpus. It's going to be, if it keeps up like this, Terry, it's not going to be an easy fight to score with all this close quarter stuff.
That's right, close quarter fight. It's a very difficult score. In fact, I notice now Barry's backing off, which I would have thought would not have been his strategy. Whether it's because Lockridge is getting through with his punches and Barry's feeling them. But also I've noticed Lockridge has got through a few low blows which the referees happen to ignore.
Well, he's from Harlem, and I suppose that's considered a fair punch there. Well, it is definitely a well-wearing down process by both fighters here. And Lockridge has been in with some great ones, like Eusebio Pedrosa. Took him to a split decision. And that was before, of course, Barry McGuigan brilliantly dethroned Pedrosa, and Barry McGuigan's here to watch this close-up because he's hoping to get in with the win. It'll take Barry Michael a while, surely, to get back really into his stride. He hasn't fought since August of last year when he defended against Najib Daho in Manchester, which was seen on ITV. It's setting the pattern now for Michael to back himself on the ropes and just allow Lockridge to come at him. I hope that he's not working on the thing that he thinks that Lockridge will punch himself out. He does tire later in fights, it's true, Lockridge, but it's a very risky thing. Minute to go in the second. And Lockridge getting a bit on top, just as Michael said he would.
Yeah, well, Barry seems to be content to be sitting on the ropes. He's got his elbows tucked in well, and he's making a lot of them punches land on the elbows and on the forearms. But he seems to be holding his own. I think he's going according to plan, and I've noticed he's managed to avoid a lot of the right hands that Lockridge has been throwing in this round, which I think is a good sign.
Since we last saw him, Barry, that he's visited the bar. It looks as though he's had a little touch-up there somewhere to make him look even more blonder for the old lad from Bondi Beach.
Come on, little Rocky! Come on, little Rocky! Come on, Rocky!
On the Emerald Isle, two sports are savoured with more relish than a pint of Guinness: hurling and Gaelic football. They're more than just games, they become outright wars. Clash Gaelic Games, Wednesday night, 6:30 on Sports Australia. It was the clash.
Round 3 of a scheduled 15 then. And it's been a real hard slog at the start. Neither looking to do the one punch finish, they're just pumping the arms away there. And we knew right up from the off, Terry, that's exactly how this would fight have to go. Nobody was going to do a fancy Dan.
Yeah, it's going to be a very hard fight. In fact, they've thrown enough punches in the first 2 rounds to actually make up for a whole 15-round fight. It's going to be very grueling, and they're both going to be for a very hard fight while it lasts, but at this pace, there's no way it will go the distance.
Such a crowd-pleasing fighter, Barry Michael, and he's so pleased that he's got live television exposure in America for this fight. He's badly wanted that. His 4th defence. He won it against Lester Ellis in Melbourne in July in '85. And 14 years as a pro and 6 15-round fights. He deserves a bit of luck, Barry Michael. Certainly the referee letting him get on with it. He hasn't called break or bothered. He seems to be almost a spectator, doesn't he?
That's right. Well, the fight's been well cleanly contested. The heads are clashing, but it's as a result of the infighting. At the moment, they're matching each other with the punches. Lockridge seems to have the greater power, but the tactics is just each one's trying to impose their will upon the other, and it's waiting for someone to give.
Well, as the old song says, something's got to give. It would look like that. I know Michael has been stressing that he's banked on the stamina all the way through. He's watched some tapes of Lockridge fighting, and he's convinced that he can certainly take over in the second part of the fight. It's the hit-and-run fighters that normally bother Lockridge, so he should welcome Aussie Barry coming at him like this. Well, the judges have got to sort this one out the way it's going. Roland Dakin from England, Cavalieri from Italy, and Bob Cox from Phoenix, Arizona. The referee doesn't score, and the 3 knockdown rule is not in effect if either boxer goes down 3 times in one round. It's not automatically over. Pace keeping up the whole time, taking it in turns, and Lockridge finishing the round seemingly, well, not necessarily stronger, but throwing more punches. So there it is, a little bit bloodied around the nose, but, well, you can get that messing around in a school playground. That's not considered anything in pro boxing. Ex-boxer Phil Martin on the outside there. From Manchester, whom he's been working with. Actually, Barry Michaels worked in Miami for a while because a fight with Johnny De La Rosa unfortunately fell through, a promotional problem. And then he went to Manchester for several weeks where he'd fought Najib Daho and liked it, and then he came back to London. So putting almost the Vaseline makeup, isn't it?
Right, get the body, get that body. Okay? You gotta just hit him in the body, right? Why you doing it? Get to the body, get him over with the body.
So coming out for round 4, and Lou Duva really having a go there with Lockridge in the corner, saying go for the body. I don't think he's got much option really, because Michael cleverly tucks his head round the arms. I noticed that. He gives it the elbow defence. There you are. Do you think, Terry, seriously now, that Barry's definitely laying back now, trying to let this fellow wear himself out a bit?
Oh, well, in that last round, I felt Lockridge, Barry was slowly getting on top. He said to me he expected to lose the first 6 rounds. So as far as Barry's concerned, everything's kind of according to plan. Lockridge is going to be dangerous for the first 6, and if Barry can get through them, he feels confident that his stamina will see him through.
And you've boxed a lot with Michael over the years?
Yeah, we've sparred on numerous occasions, and you know, I'm quite heavier than him, but at the same time he shows no respect to me. So a little fellow of 9 stone 4 shouldn't cause him any problems.
In a telephone booth, these guys. They don't need this 20-foot odd ring. They're standing toe-to-toe, just as expected. Only been stopped once and with a cut in his whole career, Barry Michael, by Lennox Blackmore in Georgetown. And Lockridge has only been tumbled once, and that was by Juan Laporte, and that was in fact a knockout. It's one of those punches that came out of the blue. But as you can see, he's noted for his durability as well. And his 5 losses, 4 of them have actually been in world title fights, Lockridge. A minute to go in round 4. And they're right above us as you're looking there, and we can well feel little specks of blood coming from Michael's nose, and indeed the perspiration bouncing all over us.
It seems in this round, Barry's giving Lockridge far too much room. He's giving him leverage, enabling him to throw his punches. Barry should be a lot closer up and take the effectiveness out of Lockridge's punches. Whether it's because he's feeling the effects of the pace and feeling the punching power, I don't know.
Well, Barry Michael said he didn't think being out of the ring would have affected him, but as you know, Terry, it's hard to simulate real battle when you're working in gymnasium conditions with big gloves and head guards.
There's no substitute for the real thing, but now what Barry should be doing is moving in, forcing Lockridge backwards, because he's just letting Lockridge do his own thing and having it all his own way.
Barry Michael's blonde hair is turning a bit sandy now with that blood coming off his gloves, wiping onto his head and his mouth there. Now replay here, Terry, a bit of inside fighting again.
Lockridge has got plenty of room and leverage with his punches, and Barry's allowing him to throw them. That's when he's most effective. Barry's just content to sit there, and Lockridge is picking his shots, stepping back, making room to follow up with others. And Barry just doesn't seem to be pushing it and pushing him back.
I've seen Lockridge fight quite a few times, so it's hard to tell by the expression on his face whether he's content with everything. Round 5. And now Barry Michael really can't afford to give away any leeway now. He could be a bit behind, Terry. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm making a couple of rounds behind. They are very difficult to score because of their close infighting. But Lockridge does seem to be taking the initiative now and getting the upper end.
I'm pleased with the, the roughness, not intended roughness, but the style of it. That nothing more serious to Michael, because he's had plastic surgery around his right eye and had a broken nose. One was from a training accident, and the other was from a little bit of a far car in the pub. I think he wanted to, supposed to be supporters, but weren't.
What Barry's doing now is moving forward, forcing Lockridge back and not giving Lockridge any room to throw his punches. And that's the tactics he should be following.
Trouble is the rate of the punches there. It's difficult for one solid hard blow to get in when they're fighting like that. They're just pumping them out all the time. Well, if you wanted to get a little bit of advice in the old ear roll, as they say in London, Terry, I think you could have certainly heard that. He was leaning on the ropes, and again now Lockridge has got his back to it.
Yeah, the thing with this particular fight, I think whoever actually gives ground is going to lose the initiative, and I think it's important to hold your ground, stay fast, and force the opponent back. And let them tactics apply to both of them.
I have to say, in a couple of championship fights I've seen Lockridge in, I saw him fight Cornelius Clover Edwards, but he was throwing punches that much faster than he seems tonight. I think he suddenly realised he's met his match for strength and guts with this guy. Exchange of punches going on here, though. I tell you, they're not trying to dazzle each other with science, are they?
No, it's very... Well, you say that, but the tactics involved does take some degree of science. They're slipping lots of punches, they're blocking lots, so despite the lever being thrown, a lot of it is being nullified by each other.
Oh, yes, I really meant more or less textbook stuff. Obviously, what they're doing well. He's nagging away the whole time now, Lockridge. He really wants to get some rounds in the bank.
U.S. college basketball, the NBA stars of the future. The skill, the power, the raw energy of basketball's young guns, putting it all on the line.
Into the sixth round. And this hard slog then for the Super Featherweight Championship, the IBF version, scheduled for 15. And it switched a bit. Terry Marsh and I thought maybe Lockridge had just got his head and arms in front a little bit, but then gradually Michael comes back again. It's not going to be easy to judge. He's not throwing tremendously hard punches, Lockridge, but he started to make them count now.
That's what I think. Lockridge threw very, very good punches in the early rounds and caught Michael, but despite that, Michael's still on his feet. So I think Lockridge has resigned himself to a very hard fight and a very long fight, and is probably throwing the punches to score points, but not actually trying to knock out with every blow.
Well, certainly Michael psyched him a little bit at the press conference when he said, "Don't worry, I'm going to start winning the second half of the fight." Now, no matter whether the fighters give the impression of shrugging that sort of stuff off, when they're in there, they must be thinking about that, Lockridge.
Yeah, well, it's a situation. He's had 5 very, very hard rounds. He's got 10 rounds ahead of him, and the fact that he knows Michael is an out-and-out stayer, it must be in the back of his mind. And if there's any seeds of doubt in Lockridge's mind, Michael's going to find them out.
There's plenty of life in the old lad yet. He's 32, Barry Michael, but as he keeps pointing out, he's actually got a body of 25. And I don't think he was referring to his lovely wife, Sandy, either. One of the cut now inside Barry's mouth is giving him a problem. He seems to be boxing a little bit more open mouth, Terry, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. In the corner, there seemed to be a lot of blood coming out of it, but at the time there was a wet sponge, which actually seems to exaggerate or it appears to exaggerate the injury. But he does appear to be breathing from the mouth, but then again, at the pace the fight's been going, it comes as no surprise to me.
The way they rush in like that, I just hope the heads don't meet and cause an injury, because that could spoil it now. Neither boxer deserves to lose by injury. We come then for the countdown for the 6th. Again, Barry Michael letting Lockridge punch himself out a bit and then coming back, and he'll need to. Now, can he take over for the second half? Seventh round. Now, is Barry Michael going to try and put some pressure on now? He did it with Najib Dahu. It was a similar fight to this, although I think probably Lockridge was throwing more punches than Dahu was able to. Weight doesn't bother Barry Michael at all. He's fought up with the lightweight, the light welterweight division. He's been up as high as 10 stone 2. He only weighs 9'4" for this. Adding to the television coffers, as they say, with the NBC of America here, is sponsorship by the London firm OTV. It's just relentless now, Terry. They're going to keep this up. We did say this from the start, and have we proved right so far?
Barry's sitting on the ropes and he's laying Lockridge to have 3 shots, but he's stopping lots on the elbows and forearms. And at this stage of a fight, it is just as tiring throwing punches as taking them, providing you can take the power out of them. So probably Lockridge is probably feeling the effects of the pace a lot more than Michael.
Tell you what, these fellas have got to be in terrific shape to keep this up, the pace they've set now.
Yeah, well, it is a tremendous pace. I think what we're going to see, I don't know what round, but I think it's coming sooner rather than later. One of them's just going to crumble and just collapse from the pressure, from the work that they're actually putting in.
A bit hard on the gum shield there as well, Lockridge. It looks so he's blowing a bit, and you can understand that with the energy that he's put into this fight and a few punches in return. Keeps pummeling it away to the body there, Barry Michael, like a dog who's burrowing through his bone the way he throws punches to the body. So the countdown then, for the end of 7. So here's Evander Holyfield then, double cruiserweight champion of the world. Quick word with Gary Newman.
We're at the halfway mark, so how do you see this fight?
Well, right now the fight is a dead even. I had 3 rounds for Michael and three for Rocky Lockridge, and this round here looked very close, like it could be even. I think what Rocky is trying to sustain is a body attack, and Michael is planning on Rocky running out of gas in the later round, so I guess in 10 rounds we know what it should be.
Well, you're in the same camp, and you're defending your IBF and WBA cruiserweight titles in France next week. Is this hardly the way to prepare?
Well, this right here psychs me up for the fight. I'm looking forward to it.
And it's into round 8. And words of wisdom indeed there from Evander Holyfield. A very classy fighter indeed. So he's got it very close then, Evander. I thought he summed it up fairly well there too, Terry.
Yeah,
really.
it was I must disagree with him, and I hesitate to say that, him being a light heavyweight, but I've got Lockridge 2 rounds ahead at the moment.
And he's trying not to be biased with his own man, which that makes a change. But I agree with you. I think on sheer work rate, Lockridge is just, as they say, stealing it. But there's no telling now, because Barry Michael does put a lot of effort in late in fights. And if we're judging on Lockridge's fight against Wilfredo Gomez, when he really had the fight in the bag, as they say, and just blew it in the last few rounds.
I noticed there, Michael winched with his right eye. I don't know if he actually received a thumb in it, but it was after a punch was thrown.
It's all about one or the other now, trying to produce that little bit of extra power now. It's all been strong punches, Terry, but not those sort of blasting blows that you expect.
That's right. Well, Lockridge is the one who's known for his power. Barry Michael is more, got the strength of a bull. If there's any good knockouts, I would say it's going to come from Lockridge. But Barry, to me, looks a little bit distressed at the moment. I don't know if it's because of the eye, which I mentioned earlier on.
Well, I feel sorry for Michael in the sense that he has been messed around trying to get championship fights. Been so close, and then the promoter actually had to pull out because he had a big problem. And that won't help his case at all. He'd love to be active. He doesn't run away from anybody, as you can see. It looks now in the 8th that Barry Michael is showing a bit of wear and tear. The old signs of battle, Terry, isn't he?
Yeah, he looks in trouble to me, Reg. I think we're going to see the end of his reign, I'm afraid.
Well, he wants to get out of there for a start, pinned in his own corner.
He looks very tired. I don't fancy his chances of surviving the next round if it carries on like this.
I suppose he's a natural super feather at 9'4", but one wonders if he has to drag himself a bit. That looks a little bit weight problem, the way he's faded. No, I think it's all going to be over there. He looked as though he said to his dad, stop it. Yeah. Get the Michael. Now, I don't know whether he said stop an injury there, but I heard him say clearly there, and the referee, Joe Santarpia, is in the corner discussing it with the father.
Shield.
And yes, it looks as though it's all over to me. I thought he did say that, Barry Michael. Something's gone wrong there. I don't know whether he's got an injury or he's just run out of gas, but the end of the 8th round. And the crowd are just as stunned probably as you are watching it. We both saw that he was fading right on the bell there, Terry, but I didn't really expect it to end that quickly then, at that point.
Well, it seemed to, Barry seemed to fade, and all the strength seemed to sap out of him quite dramatically. He went back to his corner and he didn't look happy. I think he'd given his all, and whether he's suffering from trouble with his eye, I see there's a bruise coming up or a swelling on his right eye, and he'd given his all. I don't think you can expect any more.
Gentlemen, please. At the end of round 8, ladies and gentlemen, Michael is unable to continue. The winner by a technical knockout and the new junior lightweight champion of the world, Lockridge.
And the 5th world champion there in Dan and Lou Duver's camp, and that's the IBF supervisor, Walter Stone from Rhode Island, putting the belt back around the waist of Lockridge. Well, he's done well. He lost the WBC's championship, lost the WBA, and now he's regained that. And there's the wife and mum in the corner there with a very saddened Barry Michael indeed. Yeah, we'll talk about tiredness and things. He's got a huge bump under his ear, Terry, too, as we look at this replay now.
From that, it seemed as if all the life went out of Barry. He was there, but he just couldn't actually give anything back. He was taking the punches, he couldn't respond at all, and the expression on his face just seemed to change. And from there, for me, it looked like the writing was on the wall, and it was sad because he put such a tremendous effort in, but Lockridge kept sustaining the attacks, kept throwing the punches, and at the end, as I said previously, it was a battle of wills, and Lockridge's will proved stronger.
He definitely looked to have both ear and eye trouble there. So here's Gary now.
To finish. What actually caused it?
He broke my nose in the first round, and he broke my eardrum in my right eardrum in about the 3rd round. And you know, he was just too good on the night. I haven't fought for a year. I'm 32 years old. Maybe they're finally catching up with me. I've still never taken an 8 count 60 pro fight. That's my last fight. I'd like to announce my retirement on American TV. That's
and British television and Australian television, because they're watching you back home. He also broke your heart a bit tonight, didn't he?
You know, I was surprised. He was very strong. He took my body shots well. I couldn't catch him clean with the left hook or the right hand. He was very strong. But, you know, maybe I could have got another round or so, but the nose is badly broken, and the eardrum was broken. That was bothering me as well.
So you must have been fighting in tremendous pain for those 8 rounds.
Bloody hell, from the first round on, it was awful bad. Plus, I'm fairly cut up inside the mouth, but he fought a tremendous fight. I'd just like to say it's taken me 15 years to get on American TV, and I'm sorry I blew it, but, you know, that's the way it goes.
Well, it's been a good career for you, Barry, but tonight wasn't to be your night. And, I mean, I've got to ask you, did that bomb scare business upset your attitude?
No. I mean, I've had everything happen to me in my career. It didn't upset me one bit. I wouldn't take anything away from Rocky. He's a great competitor. He's a harder puncher than I thought. He's very strong. He's stronger than I thought, and he's a terrific puncher.
Barry, thanks for talking to us.
Thank you.
So disappointment there for the Australian, who just couldn't stand up to the punishment that Lockridge was dishing out.